Hey guys, you've heard of the Young Turks podcast because you're listening to it right now. But make sure that you subscribe and give it a 5-star rating if you like it. Thank you for listening. Drop it. All right, look at this power panel. Cenk Uygur, John Iadarola, John Fugelsang's back, everybody. Woo. All right, great to have John with us. By the way, you got to check out.
Thank you. You know, I don't always get a lot of acknowledgement, but I do appreciate it.
That's true.
When it happens.
For good reason, All right, tell me everything every night on SiriusXM Progress Channel. That's where you're gonna find John,
That's me.
Okay? And by the way, Pete Townsend was his first guest. That's pretty badass.
Yeah, we just moved over from the Insight channel to the big liberal Progress channel. We're doing nights, and we've already had Robbie Robertson and, oh God, Judd Apatow came down. We just had Jennifer Beals and Kathleen Turner. So we're mixing the celebrities with the comedians with the politicians. Bernie's done it twice, and we're working our way through, trying to get you on. Trying to get you on, John.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
John.
He was just being polite, okay? Give me polite.
But I got to be in LA for Christmas with my kid, and luckily enough, you had an empty table, so it's nice to slide on in.
It's awesome to have you, John. And those are a hell of a guest. Everybody check it out, okay? So, John, we got a lot of show, other John. So obviously we got some Trump stuff, some campaign stuff, as it seems like every single night. But the media critique is fortunately or unfortunately the one that has got me most riled up. That's coming up in just a little bit. Ida Rodriguez is also on later in the program, so it's gonna be great. All right, yes. So John, let's get started.
Yes, so we do have a lot to look forward to. We're gonna start off with some dark stuff though. Let's launch right into it.
Did he say anything when he did this, or did he just literally pull out a knife and just start stabbing him?
He just pulled out a knife and started stabbing him.
So what you're seeing there is a Navy SEAL who's being interviewed by Navy investigators about the experience of being abroad and serving with Edward Gallagher, a former SEAL who has made a big name for himself, especially in right-wing circles this year, after he was accused of multiple war crimes and then found himself a celebrity for Pete Hegseth and Fox and Friends, and eventually Donald Trump as well. He has since been acquitted of most of the crimes, but there are still big concerns. And these tapes coming out now, some of the quotes from these SEALs are just amazing. Let's run through a few. First of all, in case you're not familiar with Chief Gallagher, platoon members say that they had seen him shooting civilians and fatally stabbing a wounded captive with a hunting knife. 3 SEALs said that they saw him go to a sedated captive for no reason, stab him to death, and then hold an impromptu re-enlistment ceremony over the body as if it were a trophy. And so in general terms, what is this person like according to the men that have served with him? Well, one said, asked whether the chief had a bias against Middle Eastern people, Special Operator Scott replied, "I think he just wants to kill anybody he can." Another special operator said the guy is freaking evil. A third said the guy was toxic. And a fourth said you could tell he was perfectly okay with killing anybody that was moving.
Okay.
And so this person, you might have seen if you were invited to the Mar-a-Lago Trump Christmas party, he was partying it up there with the president.
So I want to remind everybody, including the president, that all the people that you just heard from are on SEAL Team 7 Alpha Platoon. So when you go after them, which they invariably will, and Gallagher already has, understand that they're going after SEAL Team 7, every other member. And so they like to hide behind the troops at every turn. Oh, here I had to give a giant amount of money to the Pentagon. Support the troops. No, you don't. Your troops incoming guys make about $19,000 a year. Okay, I support Eddie Gallagher because he kills random Muslims. But hey, I support the troops. No, you don't. You don't support the rest of SEAL Team 7 who say that Gallagher is evil and will kill anything in his path, civilian or otherwise. One of the folks he's accused of killing was a 12-year-old, and it is other SEAL Team 7 members saying, "Watch out! This guy is a huge problem." So now they will attack the military again, and they'll attack the other people who are. Why would all of them lie together? That doesn't make any sense at all. But they'll hide behind false patriotism and false support of the troops to support monstrous people like Gallagher. So
I agree with you both. I mean, Look, anyone trying to raise a child right now in this era when the human id is encouraged to run free and do whatever it wants is facing a real obstacle. How do I tell my kid, don't be a racist, respect women, don't lie, do your homework, don't mock disabled people, and then watch this? This should be a slam dunk when you're debating with your conservative Christian loved ones over the holidays. You don't get to call yourself a Christian and play dumb about this. This guy was a serial killer who was in the military so he could do it for legal ways. And the most damning thing about it is, as you pointed out, how rare is it for SEAL team members to actually come out publicly and talk about what they do? When professional killers say that someone's killing too much, we should lean in and listen. They could have impeached this guy 1 minute into his inaugural address for violating the emoluments clauses. Now you can throw war crimes on top of it. It's an impeachable offense, and it's an insult to every serviceman and woman and every man and woman who manages every day to contain themselves and not murder people. When Muslims don't trust us, it's because of stuff like this.
And look, guys, it isn't about, I know right-wingers hate Muslims, so anytime we talk about valuing the life of a Muslim, they just turn off and think, no wonder, these guys are soft. Why don't we just murder them, right? But it isn't about them. Yes, it's important, and obviously we should care about that, etc. But it's about us. It's about who are we? Are we a country of laws? Do we have a military that is decent and that follows international law, doesn't commit war crimes? Or if you say, no, we shouldn't. We should just let them go and let there be no order in the military at all, basically some degree of chaos, and let them murder whoever they like, whether they're combatants, civilians, 12 years old or not. Okay, then you are arguing that America should be the bad guys.
Yep.
I mean, that's what the Nazis did. That's what the Al-Qaeda does. That's what ISIS does. Chop off their heads. Who cares? Who cares about international law? Who cares about morality and decency? Let's just kill them all. Well, okay, then maybe you should go and join one of those groups instead of the United States military, which is supposed to have honor. And all of those guys did have honor, with one notable exception, the guy that Donald Trump enthusiastically backed.
And if you want to kill Muslims because you're a Christian, stop calling yourself a Christian. You are not. You are using that cloaking device for your own evil. And people are tired of it, especially around this time of the year. This country hasn't legally declared war since 1941. These weren't even legal prisoners of war. The whole thing is sketchy as hell. And this is the tipping point. This should be the tipping point for anyone who still believes a guy who stole from vets with a scam online university cares about vets.
Yeah. And so I believe you alluded to that they don't often come out and talk about this, SEALs. They don't often reveal. Exactly, and we can't say for sure exactly why they have, but we do know one reason is in these interviews they alluded to the fact that they believed that he had been purposefully exposing them to enemy fire to draw out enemy soldiers that he could shoot at. And they started to believe among themselves that he wouldn't mind if a few of them had been killed because it might make him seem more distinguished.
He wanted a silver star.
Yeah.
And that's why he wanted to have such a high body count.
Yeah. Yeah, and so if you justify, well, he can kill as many Muslims as he wants, I don't care, they're trying to kill our soldiers. His soldiers believe that he was trying to get them killed. So you should oppose him for all the same reasons.
By the way, what has Gallagher done now? He has called all the rest of the people in SEAL Team 7 Alpha Platoon cowards. Of course. No, you're the only brave one. The only brave one who kills people after they're already captured.
Kills children.
Yeah.
Right, kills children, kills the wounded, kills old men. You're the brave one, right? And everyone else on SEAL Team 7 is cowards. Do any of you believe that? If you do, there's something deeply wrong with you. You should get psychological counseling. You should not be allowed to have a weapon, and you're a danger to yourself and others. If you think the guy that every other military person is saying is a murderer and a danger to everyone and is committed war crimes, they're all wrong and cowards, but the one murderer guy's awesome. If you believe that, you're either named Donald Trump or you're a Trump acolyte and you like people who kill civilians. You like people who kill 12-year-olds, and that's who you are.
And the amazing thing too is, I mean, he had been accused of multiple war crimes and he eventually got off of them, except for posing with the body, because we have the photo, you can see it. And so, but he claims that he didn't execute the person, even though multiple people says he did. Still sort of weird that you would then take the body and pose with it. Also, one additional fact, I talked about this on the damage report this morning. He had earlier on Instagram, I believe this was before going off to war, he had a knife made, he had a special knife made, and he posted about how he couldn't wait to dig it in someone's skull. And so when you're accused of having gone up to execute someone with a knife, it makes it a little bit more believable at that point, especially added on to the multiple eyewitnesses to say you did it.
I love Young Turks followers, and I know a lot of Young Turks followers are, of course, atheists and non-believers, but this is why you need to remember your old Bible studies more than ever, because we have to stop these people from using the cloak of Christianity. That is their get-out-of-hell-free card in the media. The media plays along. It never questions it. No. Anyone supporting this has to be called out. They don't get to drape themselves in baby Jesus anymore. They have rejected it. These guys voted for Caligula, Barabbas, and the golden calf. They got to be called out. This is literally war crimes and murder.
And last thing, guys. So speaking of not allowing people to hide behind things like Christianity, they don't get to hide behind military supporting the troops when they say they're defending Eddie Gallagher, because that means you're saying the rest of SEAL Team 7 were cowards and liars. Or is that what you're saying? Because let's be very clear about this, because that's what Gallagher is saying. Trump, by supporting him wholeheartedly, that's what he's saying. Look, I've got people I know that are family members that voted for Trump. So I'm not saying everyone who voted for Trump in 2016 is a terrible person. Obviously not, right? But they, some of them say they didn't know. Some of them still want to bury their head in the sand. Some of them want to bury their head in Fox News. Okay, but if you know, and you're with the war criminal rather than the rest of SEAL Team 7, then you don't believe in the United States military and you don't believe in our form of government. So please get out of the country, go move to Saudi Arabia or some other theocracy where they murder people wantonly. You'll really enjoy it, but this country's not for you.
And one other thing we should mention, though, is that the issue with this is not just that right-wingers were so quick to defend him despite all the evidence. They don't care about what any of the people who served them said. It's not just that Trump tweeted in support of him. It's not even just that he's inviting him to his Christmas party, which is just, it's sick on a whole new level. It's that this guy is gonna be everywhere next year on the campaign trail with Trump and with other Republicans. He's just waiting to run for some office for himself. And what's so amazing about it is that if you were to ask these right wingers who suddenly believe that he's this huge hero, they wouldn't be able to tell you anything about his military record except the war crimes that he has been accused of. They don't mind that he's been accused of killing children and the elderly and prisoners of war. And that's why they know who he is. That's why they care about him.
This endangers the safety of our troops. There is no reason for any Muslims to believe Americans anymore when they see that you can literally murder us, go through the charade of military justice, and then have this reality show racist clown give you a pass.
Yeah, exactly. You want to take our first break?
Good times.
Yeah. All right. Yes, we're gonna take a break. And if you thought that story made me angry, wait till we get a load of the next story. So fun for everybody. The mainstream media realizes the Trump people might not be telling the truth. I'm not kidding. It's like, they actually just realized that. It's stunning. All right, we'll do that when we return.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
All right, back in the Young Turks. First member comments. Anna for Dem White House press secretary writes in. Fugelsang, I will be as happy as a clam at high tide if you imitate Chris Matthews at any point during this panel today. Well, there you go.
I would, but that would involve these two not speaking for the rest of the broadcast.
All right.
I love Chris.
Change my Borg destination, writes in. Designation, I should say. Trump needs corrupt support from this is a really interesting point. Trump needs corrupt support from the military. His support of Gallagher is a call to any and all corrupt military individuals to come to his network.
Yep.
He is slowly and methodically building his network of extensive government corruption. Look, I saw it happen in Turkey with Erdogan. That is exactly right. So what strongmen do is they say, I want the people who are not going to follow the law. The opposite. They say, I'm for rule of law. And then they say, no, I want people loyal to me and me only, not to the Constitution, not to the government, not to the laws. Yes. Because I need people with guns in positions of power who will follow me no matter what I do.
He told ICE agents he would bail them out if they broke the law, handling migrants. He told cops they should be rougher with people and not protect their heads when they shove them into cars. He told the people at his rallies he would pay their legal costs if they physically assaulted someone else. This is Brown Shirts 101.
100% right. And so great point. That's why I love doing the show with you guys. Clint McClock on Twitter is keeping us honest too. He said, hey, this is an important story. Has anyone read the article? The SEALs didn't come out and speak about this. The audio was leaked to the New York Times. I'm mad too, but we still have responsibility for the facts here.
Absolutely.
I thought
yes, I don't mean that they came and talked specifically to the New York Times.
Right.
I mean that they were willing to talk about the experience
in
detail at all. Exactly.
Yeah, look, we said publicly at one point, and so I was thinking about coming back and clarifying. We did not say that they spoke to the New York Times. But thank you for being vigilant about it, right?
Yes.
So for everyone, so you know,
it was naval investigators.
They spoke on camera to those investigators. They all did it. All of them said similar things, which we just reported to you guys. Those tapes are leaked to the New York Times, and that's why it's in the news today. Okay, thank you, Clint. Okay, the Mad Lib writes in, Gallagher is a real life Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now. This is hero of the right wing. These are people we're supposed to compromise with. Joe Biden would say yes. I say no. And then finally, it's the Constitution, stupid, writes in. Thank you for having John Fugelsang on TYT. My greatest pleasure / pastime on Twitter is watching him destroy deluded Christians who don't know their Bible. I try to warn them, but they never listen.
You got to thump the Bible thumbers with the Bible. You know, the best Christians I know are atheists, and some of the most godless heathens I know are believers. So, I mean, I'm just, because of who my parents were, and my parents were social justice Catholics. My dad was a brother, my mother was a sister, and I just got to a point where I got tired of seeing this figure of Jesus, who is the greatest progressive of all time in history or literature, whatever you believe, and having it used to justify the most unchristian things. The best thing you can do with your Trump-loving relatives is ask them, cite one teaching of Jesus that Trump campaigned on or has fought for legislatively. Just one. Not abortion. Jesus never mentioned it. Bible's not against abortion. Jesus was against the death penalty, but they began losing Jesus around that point. Try it out yourself. I think that the media has to get in on this. If Mike Pence is going to stand there and say, I get to discriminate against gay people because of my faith, we should have to be able to say, where in your holy book does Jesus tell you to do that? Because he doesn't.
Yeah, of course, the press will run for the hills. They cower from the right wing in every respect, including religion. Oh my God, I wouldn't want to offend people who completely and utterly hijacked the religion.
Oh, the William Morris agency runs away from it too.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, before we jump back in the news though, I should let you know that if you are watching this show, there's a good chance you have the right values, but it's also possible that out there right now, your money is serving the exact opposite of those. You should have your values and your money be working together. Don't let your money be funding things like oil rigs and pipelines and things like that. You can earn cash back and get free ATM use at aspiration.com/TYT. Sign up for an Aspiration account, make your money and your values work together. Oh, and by the way, also for a limited time, we'll give you 30 days of free TYT membership when you sign up. Also, this weekend, if you're looking for something fun to watch on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on MSNBC, a big friend of the show, Francesca Fiorentini, has her special Red, White, and Who. It is awesome that MSNBC gave Francesca this special, and it would be even more awesome if they got a great reaction to it. Both in terms of watching it, also tweet at them about how much you enjoyed it. You can expect an appearance by Bernie Sanders. Should be a lot of fun. So definitely check that out. Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. it looks like it's gonna be great.
It's great to see her on camera.
Exactly. Okay, why don't we jump into this next story and see if Cenk blows a gasket. So, Chuck Todd recently had an interview with Rolling Stone where they got into alternative facts and fake news and all of that. And Chuck Todd said something that a lot of people had a problem with. We're gonna get to that in just 1 second. But what was the sort of impetus for this? It was a special that they're going to do on truth and lies. And the reason Chuck Todd says that he and his show, or they have to address this, is because for good or bad, our show has been at the forefront of this topic of disinformation. The first Sunday of the Trump administration is when the phrase alternative facts was debuted. It was on Meet the Press that Rudy Giuliani used the phrase truth isn't truth. So look, whether we like it or not, our platform has been used, or they've attempted to use our platform to essentially disseminate, or to sort of what I would say is to lay the groundwork for this. He says, my fear is the next news consumers. How will they know truth from fiction? How will they have the tools to discern from this? So, okay, all of that sounds maybe okay so far. But there is a question and answer that a lot of people did have a problem with. They asked him, let me bring you back a little bit. Were you surprised by the consistency that the Trump administration was willing to spread disinformation with Sean Spicer's initial press briefing when he lied about the crowd size at the inauguration? Were you surprised that the president and other administration officials and their allies just kept it going? And Chuck Todd responds, I fully admit, listening to you ask that question now and me giving you the honest answer of, yeah, I guess I really believe they wouldn't do this. Just so absurdly naive in hindsight. Donald Trump's entire life has been spent using misinformation. His entire life, I've spent years studying him now on trying to figure out, how did this guy even learn politics? Where did he learn? And we'll have more on that, but that's sort of the money part.
Yeah, there's actually things that I think are slightly worse, but I'm trying to understand them, and I've been trying to be as understanding as I can. But really, it occurs to you 3 years into the Trump administration that maybe they're not leveling with you. Really. I mean, so what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? Like, look, I've given Chuck Todd credit from time to time when he challenges a guest. At other times, I've been tough on him because he hasn't challenged guests. It depends. It's credit where credit is due, and lack of credit where it's due. But in this case, so do you not understand politics at all? That's because that's the best case scenario. Otherwise, you're a patsy. So 3 years in the Trump administration. So look, I'll give you another example. Later in the interview, he's talking about Ted Cruz, and he thought that Ted Cruz was gonna come on and disagree with Donald Trump on the issue of Ukraine because Ted Cruz is a Russia hawk. And he said, I was stunned. And he said, I really naively thought maybe he wants to remind people that with Russia and blaming Ukraine, this is getting ridiculous. You thought Ted Cruz was going to say Donald Trump is being ridiculous and that he was wrong on Russia and Ukraine? That just happened. That interview was like a week ago or something, right? How could you possibly think that? But they do, they're like little children. I'm trying not to be demeaning, but I bet Ted Cruz is gonna do the right thing. You thought Ted Cruz was gonna do the right thing?
Are you gonna be really this easy on them? You're being this easy on them? You're letting them off the hook for this children's stuff. Their job is not to tell the truth. Their job's not to report the truth. Their job is to win ratings. This is ratings-based news. And if you offend somebody in the wrong state and it costs you half a point, that is how you lose your job and go to live on whoever the last guy was, island. I mean, if you can say prevarication, if you can say falsehood, if you can say demonstrably false, if you can say fabrication, you can say lie. They don't want to say lie because they're afraid of alienating viewers. And so that is why they're going to play dumb about this and do all these false equivalencies as far as they possibly can, because it is not their job to call a spade a spade. It is their job to get the widest possible audience they can get, and that means not offending anybody with actual facts.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're ever going to have an affair, it's wrong to have an affair, but try it with Chuck Todd's wife, because Chuck doesn't ask follow-up questions. Trust me.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I wouldn't have gone there.
I didn't.
You really shouldn't do that with Chuck Todd's wife. Don't.
And the thing that frustrates me the most is they clearly, like CNN and MSNBC, different strategies sort of, but they're both clearly like, if we just do X, then the conservatives will watch us and they'll trust us once again. And
Barack Obama thought that.
Exactly, and they've pursued this strategy for years, which is why over the past few years, so many Fox viewers have switched over to watching CNN and MSNBC. Oh wait, that hasn't happened at all. They hate you even more. They think you're the enemy of the people. A lot of people in America would not be that bothered if a terrorist attacked one of these offices. That's how much
actually a
they've been
terrorist
attacked.
did. Caesar Sayre
Exactly. Sent pipe bombs. And how much did that bother? Was there any backing off of the enemy of the people talk?
Did it garner any sympathy from any Trump supporters? No, not at all. They went right back to chanting about any of the enemy of the people. Look, I got two more layers of harshness here. So you say I'm not harsh enough, hold my beer. Okay, so later in the interview, Chuck Todd says, look, the Iraq war in the aftermath discredited enough politicians and enough media. Did it?
What?
No, it didn't. It didn't discredit any of them. So afterwards, John Kerry, who voted for the Iraq war, became the Democratic nominee in 2004. And then Hillary Clinton, who voted for the Iraq war, became the nominee in 2016. I mean, they all lost and they all suck and they were rejected by the American people. Oh no, Hillary Clinton won. Is she president? For God's sake, is she president? No, you keep being establishment people who were for the Iraq war, who paid no price at all for being constantly wrong. And who's leading right now in the national polls? Joe Biden, who voted for the Iraq war. What price did they pay for being so wrong? And the media, are you kidding me? Anyone who was right about the Iraq war was ostracized because it was so embarrassing to look at people who were right and who told you were wrong. Everyone on TV was wrong. Everyone on TV was wrong, and not one of them lost their job. But if you're a progressive who called them out, you're all gone. You're all gone.
Because again, their job is to win the ratings, and war is ratings crack. Donald Trump represents 4 straight years of war-sized ratings for them, which is why some of the people who write the checks for some of these media outlets don't really want to give away their ratings or their newspaper circulation or their lovely tax cut. It's not a matter of the journalists rising up to beat the Trump supporters. You've got to let the truth beat lies. That's why you're here. That's why you went to journalism school. If you wish to be remembered, you already know, Chuck Todd, how history is going to consign Donald Trump to the trash heap of mediocre fascists. Get on the right side of the curve before it's too late. But again, it's not their job. These are guys who watched Star Wars, watched Empire Strikes Back, and halfway through Return of the Jedi said, oh wait, Darth Vader's not the hero, is he? Come on.
Yeah, so let me continue on the Iraq war because Chuck Todd continues. He says, it turned out that the previous generation of national reporters missed the story in the moment. I'm not saying they were dishonest in the moment. They were too trusting of their sources. They maybe were too naive. I don't think it was active disinformation. See, you don't understand anything. You're telling me Dick Cheney was not doing active disinformation? And you're saying that with a straight face in the year 2019. That Dick Cheney was not lying about weapons of mass destruction. Forget that, about the connection to 9/11. Iraq had no connection to 9/11. You allowed Dick Cheney on Meet the Press, your organization did, and have him do those bald-faced lies and lied us into war. And what, did anybody get punished? Are you kidding me? Tom Brokaw goes around on a cloud at NBC and everybody has to go kiss his ass while the cloud goes by. Tom Brokaw's not run out of town, you idiot. You got duped by Don Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney and you aided and abetted those lies? No. Brian Williams, you name it, it doesn't matter. You all did it. You all did it.
Brian Williams is the only person to lie about the Iraq war to get a demotion in America.
Yeah, and that's not because he said the Iraq war was a bad idea. That would have been correct, right? No, they said, oh, well, he fudged about being on a helicopter or whatever, right? Look, and it isn't about any one particular person. I've met Brian Williams. He's a very nice guy. It isn't personal. I know they'll look at this and think we hate them and it's personal. No, it's that you're not good at your job. You actively lie to the American people. So here comes the great irony. So Trump, when he says enemy of the people regarding the press, that is dangerous talk, okay? And I believe in journalism. And we here at Young Turks, we're trying to protect journalism and rebuild it. So did anybody get Iraq right? Absolutely. McClatchy newspapers did a fantastic job on Iraq. Print journalists studied the sources, questioned their sources, and got the story right. Amy Goodman was right. There were other people who were right, okay? So it's not like you couldn't see it. And honestly, we were like podunk, nothing talk show hosts at the time on Sirius Satellite Radio with almost no audience, and we saw it. Jesus Christ, if we could see it, and Brokaw and Brian Williams and Chuck Todd, you all couldn't see it with the billions billions of dollars you had? No, you didn't want to see it. And not just back then, today, now you turn around and go, it turns out Ted Cruz might be a liar. Are you kidding me? And as you're saying that, you're even saying like, I mean, the previous generations, I mean, look, I don't think it was active disinformation. Ted Cruz might have said one thing wrong on my show, but are you trying to say Dick Cheney might have been doing active disinformation? No. And you guys, you schmucks, the right wing is never gonna like you. The whole point of the right wing is to tear down every source of information we have. Professors, well, they bring you information. They're terrible. Don't believe media. They bring you information. Don't believe them. Scientists, they bring you information. Don't believe them. Why? Because they want to replace it with propaganda. So it is not an attempt to make you better. It's an attempt to destroy you. Progressives, on the other hand, believe in journalism. And what do? You spit in our face because we're right. It drives you nuts. We were right about everything. The Iraq War, the Republicans only do tax cuts for the rich. They never care about the budget. I can give you 1,000 things that we were 100% right on.
2016.
Okay, and climate change. And you're lying about Medicare for all as we speak. As we speak, you're lying about it. So the reality is, you're not the enemy of the people, but are you fundamentally opposed to progressives? Yes. Are you fundamentally opposed to doing factual correctness? Actually, the answer is, and this is super depressing, yes. You're in favor of political correctness. Hey, I don't want to lose my Republican viewers. I don't want to lose access to my Republican politicians. So what am I going to do? I'm not going to tell you the truth. I'm going to take the truth and pervert it so that it's 50-50. I'm going to equate the liars with the people telling the truth. And in fact, the people telling the truth about Iraq War, et cetera, I'm not going to allow them on TV. I'm not gonna allow them on TV, but Ted Cruz and Dick Cheney and all those monsters and Kellyanne Conway and Rudy Giuliani, they'll be littered all over TV. And the only Democrats that'll be allowed are people that believe in the Pentagon and the Brennans and the Claire McCaskills, the ones who go, oh, the Republicans are right, tax cuts for the rich are great. Us doing these aggressive wars are great. Look, if you think you're doing journalism, you're not even close. You're not even close. I know that you're gonna hate us way more than you hate the right wing, because the thing that gets under your skin the most is when someone is right about you. It's easy to brush off Donald Trump. The guy's a clown. He lies every day, 7,000 times a day. It's easy to brush him off. It's easy to even go, oh, Ted Cruz, maybe, oh, wow. After 7,000 lies in a row, maybe I brush him up a little bit. I'm sorry, Ted. Come back on the show, Ted, please, I'm sorry.
And it will have been forgotten by the next time he's on.
Yes, that's 100%. They're gonna learn nothing from this. But when we're right, God, it drives them crazy. God, that's the thing they can't stand the most.
The only thing worse than hindsight needing 15 years to still get it mostly wrong is with Ted Cruz, the next time he's on, they're gonna pretend that he's an honest gentleman from wherever, from Texas. And the next war, they're going to buy whatever is told to them. And honestly, if the whistleblower hadn't blown the whistle, and if Zelensky had his interview with Fareed Zakaria, they would be covering that totally serious and straight face too. This isn't even like at this late hour, I finally understand. It's I'm saying I understand, and then I'm gonna go right back to doing the thing that I do.
And last thing, guys, so whether it's Jake Tapper telling Mehdi Hasan, we never have progressives on. So let me ask you a question about progressives. Jake, did you ever think, wait, why do we never have progressives on? Hey, wait, it looks like Bernie Sanders might win the presidency. I know you guys don't believe that because you hate him. And you say, oh, Bernie Sanders, he's leading in New Hampshire, almost caught him in Iowa. And he's second in Nevada, second in national polling, has been through. Bernie Sanders, no one I know in the country club thinks he's gonna win. And you don't think you're biased. You don't, it never even occurred to you that he might win. And if he does, it does occur to you, it comes to you in a night sweat and with dread. And you don't think, hey, maybe I'm biased. No, God forbid, I wouldn't want to ruin your pretty little dreams about who you are and how sacrosanct you are. But so Jake Tapper, did it not occur to you that at least, at the very, very least, he represents a quarter of the country? I think he represents 60%. I can show you the polling to back that up, but we can have that debate later. Okay, let's say 25%, let's say your number. So 25% of the country, you don't care about them. The Republicans, but hey, 25% of the country, we never have you sons of bitches on. Oh, okay, here, what do you got? Say one thing and then get the hell off my show, right? And then Washington Post, you did that brilliant story, Washington Post, about the Pentagon and how they've lied for every year of the Afghan war. Did you learn anything from it? My prediction is, nope. No, you'll then turn around and the next time the Pentagon says something, you'll kiss their ass and you will write it down as a fact, even though you know as an institution that they lie almost as much as Donald Trump does. They lie on purpose as a matter of strategy. You're the ones who exposed that. And I give you credit for that wonderful reporting. But you have instant collective amnesia. Ted Cruz will be invited back on. The Pentagon will be believed in the next story. David Axelrod said, none of us think that Bernie Sanders can win. But I don't know, it just occurred to me that maybe, how come you live in a world that no progressive is ever allowed in, the truth is not allowed in, and then you get all hurt when someone points it out aggressively. But when the Republicans punch you in the face, you're like, yes, sir, thank you, sir, may I have another, but not progressives. You don't have enough power. So I will spit on you progressives and never allow you on. You see how unbiased I am? All right, I think you get my point of view.
Okay, we should probably take our break.
Yeah, we'll be back.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your active ID more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Sandra O writes in the member section, Cenk sandwich between 2 awesome Johns. Who could ask for more?
We got more Johns and a Portuguese cat house in here.
Oh, wow. All right, I am a damn lib writes in, Cenk proved that progressive honest newsman could be popular and he got canned, just saying your rationale holds no beer. And real quick, just a quick clarification. So on MSNBC, they did move me from prime time to the weekends, or they wanted to. Technically, I was not fired. I'm the one who said no to that offer. But your whole point holds. I had the highest ratings they ever had at 6 o'clock at that point. And I asked the head of MSNBC, is it the ratings? Well, he's like, obviously it's not the ratings because it's the highest it's ever been. Is it that I'm a person who's hard to work with? And there were some folks like that at the time there, right? And they're like, nope, you're perfectly pleasant inside the building, right? You yell a little bit on air, but you're pleasant to folks internally. So what is it? Why move me down to the weekends? Well, the answer is because they don't want progressives in prime time. Because God forbid we should talk about net neutrality. Comcast just bought them, right? God forbid we should talk about monopolies and maybe how mergers shouldn't be approved. Or the advertisers. I once made the mistake of talking about one of their advertisers. So that's how that game is played. It's not just ratings. No, you have to suck up the power. If you don't, you're out. And last thing, Gabby Marita says, Chuck Todd's not a dumb person, but he's paid a lot of money to play one on TV. So the thing that drives those folks the craziest is when you say, did you ever think why you were picked? John was saying this during the break. Was Howard Zinn ever picked? Was Noam Chomsky ever picked?
Whenever there's a war, it's all retired generals, not Gore Vidals and Howard Zinns, to talk about other alternatives.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be those particular people. There's 330 million people in the country. You could pick, and at a bare minimum, 25% of them are progressives. Yep. If you wanted progressive anchors, you could easily find them. If you want anchors who, seek access to power and service power, you can, and you have found them. Yep. All right. What's next?
Well, before we launch into what's next, the time has finally come. As of tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, Hostmates Season 2 is here. Take a look at that lineup. It's gonna be awesome. You got Brett hosting, Emma was here for the green room, and 4 teams duking it out. Which pair knows each other best? We're actually gonna be live tweeting this just a little bit later on. You can watch it live as it's streaming for the first time today. If you haven't already seen Hostmates Season 1, maybe you can cram it in, but do it while you're also watching this somehow. And if you're not already a member, it's gonna be hard to watch it. So fix that by going to tyt.com/, I'm gonna say John, and signing up for memberships so that you can watch Hostmates right after the second hour.
Yeah, you can get membership through tyt.com/John. John's doing a great job. Damage Report's wonderful.
Yes,
support him by getting membership through that. All right, what's next?
Okay, let's have some unfun. Have you seen any ads from Democratic primary contenders recently? If you have, you probably haven't seen any Klobuchar ads or any Yang ads. You probably even haven't seen many Bernie or Warren ads. There's a very good chance you've seen 2 men's faces. That is Michael Bloomberg and Tom Steyer. And you wanna know why that is? That's because together they've spent nearly $200 million on television and digital advertising. More than double all of the other candidates for this entire campaign so far. And one of them, Mike Bloomberg, he hasn't been in the race for a month. But despite that, he's already spent $120 million in just 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That burn rate is rough right there.
So the article in the LA Times where they explained that Bernie Sanders had taken the lead in California, that was a momentous day. Now, if he loses the lead, then it turns out not to be momentous. But if he keeps the lead, and that was the day that he had seized it for the first time and passed Biden, that's a big news event, especially for the LA Times that covers California. They mentioned Mike Bloomberg more than they mentioned Bernie Sanders. And they kept going back. Every other paragraph was like, and then how does this affect Mike Bloomberg? And at the time, Mike Bloomberg was polling at 0 or 1%. Who gives a damn how it affects Bloomberg? The LA Times does. And all of television does. Why? They have 120 million reasons to care about Mike Bloomberg. Why are they all obsessed with a guy who has no popularity? According to the polling, by a 2-to-1 ratio, Democrats say they will not vote for him under any circumstance. Okay, he's trying to buy himself up to a 5% popularity rating, but the media is obsessed. Bloomberg, how's Bloomberg going to affect things?
Yeah.
Well, part of it is because they love Bloomberg, because they all have the same groupthink. Oh, billionaires should rule us all, and money should rule us all. Of course, Bloomberg, that's a real guy, not Bernie. He represents poor and middle class people. What are we, journalists? We would look out for them? We look out for the billionaires. But the bigger reason is he spends so much money in media that they're like, yes, that guy, wow, what a wonderful, fascinating character.
Can I tell you how much money? So $120 million so far in 3 weeks, but projecting forward, talking about financial incentives. So if he keeps this pace, and he's got the money to, by March 3rd, he'll have spent $357 million on TV ads. By April 28th, when New Yorkers, his state, when they finally go to the polls, he'll have spent $561 million. And people will take him seriously, even though he has like no chance. That's not a photo, that's video. He has no charisma, he's barely moving. I'm kidding, it is actually a photo. But no, he doesn't have any, he's at like 2%, 1% in the polls, but he is swamping everyone else. To put it in perspective, the next highest spender after Bloomberg and Steyer is Pete Buttigieg, who has spent $19 million so far. $19 million overall in these early contests. Bloomberg has spent $13 million in California. That's way off already. He spent $13 million in Florida. That's way off. And yet in those other states on the coast, he's swamping the number 4 guy in Iowa, basically, where Buttigieg has spent the vast majority of his money. I don't know why he's focusing so much on Iowa. There must be some reason demographically, but he certainly is.
We New Yorkers are old enough to remember a magical year when Mike Bloomberg bought another mayoral term the same year the Yankees bought another World Series. And he has calculated that he can spend all this money because A, he's got $42 billion, B, he's got name recognition, C, he's as moderate as it's gonna get. And to me, watching this, so much of the field is now a reality show called Moderate Alternative to Biden, idol. Who do they think that's not Warren or Sanders that they can turn to once Biden falters? So I understand why he's doing this, but Bloomberg, if he's trying to avoid Elizabeth Warren charging him higher taxes, he's paying a lot more now, and he could have just gotten rid of stop and frisk when he was still mayor and not be trying so hard to deal with the black Democratic vote that will never accept him. On the bright side, the commercials look great. He outsourced the editing to this great kids sweatshop in Thailand. They do fabulous work.
Okay, so John, I do want to correct you on two things.
Please
First
do.
of all, his fortune is now up to $54 billion.
Since we started this show?
Maybe, but no, seriously, in the latest series of articles, they explain his wealth is at now $54 billion.
Oh my.
Okay.
Sorry, Mayor.
And so if you think about that in that context, so even if he gets to those monstrous numbers that John is talking about, $561 million, so what, that's $500 million. He would have 53.5 left. What difference would it make? It would make no difference at all. He could spend $5 billion on it. He could spend 10x of that, $5 billion of it, and it wouldn't dent him at all.
He could if he spent $5 billion to buy Fox News, or if he put $1 billion into advertising for the Right to Life Party in 6 swing states. $1 billion into the Right to Life. How many Christians only voted for Trump because they're single issue voters? And we've convinced Christians to vote against everything Christ talked about by talking about abortion, which Christ never freaking talked about. If people realized there was a Right to Life Party and they had a place to put their vote that wasn't for Caligula, Bloomberg could pour $1 billion in 6 states into that little outfit and change the election.
I know, but that wouldn't feed his ego, would it?
No, it wouldn't. So only help the country.
And there's also one other thing I wanted to correct you on. You mentioned, well, you know, if you just kept this money, you wouldn't have to worry about what Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders are going to do to your tax rate. Actually, that's not really true, because if you think about it, Warren's wealth tax, once you take Medicare for All into account, is at 6%, and that's every year. That's way more than the $500 million that he's projected to spend. True. So he thinks, if I buy myself the presidency, why do I need middlemen? Before they were like, oh, let's get a middleman, let's get Buttigieg or Biden, and he'll do whatever the hell we tell him to do because he's our errand boy, right? But Bloomberg's like, why don't I just buy it? Well, I'll just take it myself, and then I'll give myself a tax cut, and then I'll pretend to be progressive in other things, and I'll say, sure, I care about the environment, I care about guns. Okay, now give me the money. Give me the money, okay? Whatever you do, don't touch my money, Warren and Sanders, okay?
They're coming to take your sugary drinks. They're coming, from my cold, dead hands, you'll get my Slurpee. From my cold, dead hands, Bloomberg.
So if they can find a way to defeat Sanders or Warren, is it going to be worth the $500 million that Bloomberg's gonna spend? Yeah, financially, definitely worth it for him. It's actually a good investment as a business person. Let me make sure that the middle class doesn't get what they want and the rich keep everything. And you know what his nuclear option is. So, and the rest of the press won't acknowledge it because he keeps, in essence, bribing them by putting so much money into it. Now, that's not technically, I don't think that that's fair to call that a bribe, but he's buying positive coverage.
The bias is ratings. The only bias is ratings.
And so, look, just to finish the thought, since he's giving them all that money, they're not acknowledging the elephant in the room, which is the only way he actually affects the election is if he runs as an independent and then spends another $500 million or $1 billion making sure that Bernie Sanders doesn't win. So, and then hands the election to Donald Trump so he can keep his goddamn money. So that's the elephant in the room. That's the only reason Bloomberg's relevant. Steyer, I would be shocked if he did that, okay? And so they're both billionaires, they're both spending a ton of money, but policy matters, issues matter, people matter. It's not, we're against them because they're both billionaires. Steyer actually has done some good in the world, and I would be absolutely devastated if he ran as a third party guy. I don't think he would, I don't think that's who he is. Bloomberg, jury's out. A guy who systematically targeted and abused minorities, full well knowing exactly what he was doing, stuffing them into prisons in a completely ineffectual stop and frisk. You think he's got some sort of moral compunction about betraying Democrats and progressives for his own money? No way.
He hates Trump too much. He hates Trump more than he likes anything else.
No, I don't know, man. I don't know. You're sure he hates Trump more than he hates Bernie Sanders?
All I know is,
I'm not sure.
I was here a few months ago. We were all talking about, hey, which woman running for president do you like the most? And now everyone's talking, hey, which white male billionaire running for president do you like the most? What happened in 3 months?
$120 million from Bloomberg and $84 million from Steyer's. What happened?
Bada bing.
Yeah. Imagine what sort of like left media infrastructure you could have built with that money.
Oh yeah, but
Anyway,
they don't want
no,
that.
of course they don't want to. We're
wrong
saying
table, wrong
hypothetically.
table.
Yeah, they love to talk about how we're backed by billionaires. Anyway, okay, let's launch into one other topic. We only have a few minutes left. Over at CNBC, there was this article that we saw by a writer named Jake Novak with a little bit of what he is laying out, truths that Democrats need to accept if they want to have any chance of beating Donald Trump in 2020. So we're gonna quickly run through those truths and perhaps we can come up with some truths of our own. We'll see if we agree with these. So Jake Novak's truth number 1, Trump didn't steal the 2016 election. He won the White House fair and square. Stop complaining about a million different things or whatever. Truth number 2, the economy is doing well even for the little guy. And you know that you're concerned about the economic well-being of the working class when you still refer to them as the little guy. And then number 3 is stop denigrating the voters. So basically, admit that Trump is great for literally everyone in the economy and it hasn't done anything wrong, and be really nice to his voters. And they presumably will be nice to you. So those are what CNBC is labeling as 3 truths that Democrats need to accept to have any chance. I think we do think there are some things the eventual candidate needs to understand. I'm not sure that those are them.
So I love the title. Democrats need to accept these 3 truths to beat Trump in 2020. So the idea is you have to accept that Donald Trump has an awesome economy and you should kiss the ass of his voters so you can beat Trump. Oh, thank you so much for the advice. I really appreciate it. It sounds like you're looking out for us. And so this looks so earnest. CNBC and this dude, who was, by the way, earlier a producer on CNBC, driving the stock market machine and catering to all the advertisers who are top companies that have gained through the massive trillions of dollars in tax cuts that Trump gave you. Well, you're telling me your earnest advice is to agree with Trump and that's the best way to beat him? Oh, golly gee, wow. I'm gonna take that under advisement. Okay, this is the kind of stuff Claire McCaskill and Joe Donnelly would do right before they lost.
It reminds me of, I don't remember the exact person, but Meghan McCain likes to occasionally give advice to Democrats. And she said at one point, if they want to have any chance of getting Republicans like me to vote for them, they should put up this candidate. I don't remember, I'll say Howard Schultz. I don't know for sure who it was. And then the person next to her asked follow-up questions, so would you vote for them then? She was like, no, never.
Nice.
Why are you offering advice if it's so fake? But anyway, look, I do think there are some things that the eventual candidate should accept. I think that if we have the right candidate, we don't need to worry. If it's Bernie Sanders, I think he'll get all of this. But if it ends up being Buttigieg or something like that, or if it's Biden, I know that everyone on cable news thinks, oh, it's gonna be a slam dunk. He's gonna rope-a-dope him around the debate stage and have no problem. But there are a lot of people on TV that seem to think that, like, Hillary sort of technically won somehow. There was just something that sort of messed with it. Nothing fundamentally needs to change. You can't criticize the way that she campaigned, the states that she focused on, the states that she didn't, the fact that she wasn't really giving people much of a positive agenda to vote for. I think that if we end up with another candidate who either largely agrees with that agenda and strategy, or at least wants you to think that they do during that, if it's Biden or if it's Buttigieg and they run in the same way, that is going to be a complete debacle.
Well, karma plays a long game. Trump cheated in the 2016 election. Don't say steal, he cheated. Voter ID laws are cheating. Gerrymandering is cheating. Using stolen, hacked emails is cheating. He's being impeached because he got caught cheating in the next election. The economy is doing well. Well, our economy is like a reality show. Food, medicine, rent, pick 2. 69% of us have under $1,000 in savings. And also ask Trump supporters, name one Obama trend economically that Trump didn't just continue, that he actually reversed. And finally, denigrating the voters. This is 27% of us. 46% stayed home. Apathy won in 2016. Trump came in 3rd. It's not denigrating to say to them, every Trump supporter, you're a better person than Donald Trump. You haven't stolen from vets. You don't brag about committing sexual assault. Hillary Clinton said a subset of his supporters are deplorable. She was right, they're racists. We know they are, they don't care. A positive message for Democrats is saying, you deserve better than this liar. How's Mexico paying for the wall? He lied to you about everything, and the average Trump supporter is a better human being than Donald Trump. It's a stronger message, but these are all rubbish, and it's meant for a guy at CNBC to feel better about himself, secretly rooting for Trump.
Of course. So, but let's do nuance. So there are folks, and bunch of reporters and other folks on social media, even today on my account, on Twitter, saying, oh no, but Hillary Clinton won. She won the popular vote. I've heard that a million times. Is she president? I wish she was. I voted for her. I told you guys to vote for her.
Yeah.
I think Donald Trump is a monster. I told you, and I was right about
Bernie
that.
voted for her.
Yes, and Bernie endorsed her, did 39 different events for her, right? Rallies for her. So, but she's not the president. Wakey, wakey. So to John's point, okay, so you want us to pick someone just like Hillary Clinton because you'd like to have the moral high ground when Donald Trump wins his second presidency? Yes, but by other metrics, Joe Biden won. No, I just want someone to win, to actually be president. And so, but the press, again in unison, lies to you about a fundamental fact. They say if you pick someone like Hillary Clinton, they will have a better chance of beating Donald Trump. Just look at that sentence. How could that possibly be true? Hillary Clinton isn't president. But they tell you, no, Joe Biden, he's very electable. It totally agrees with Hillary Clinton. Almost every position is the same or more conservative than Hillary Clinton. So obviously you should pick him because remember how Hillary Clinton won and is the president? He isn't the president. So no, you've got to pick a populist. You've got to pick someone who the middle class can actually root for and be energized by, not a guy who says nothing will fundamentally change. That's exactly what Hillary Clinton said. So they lost to a buffoon. They lost to a buffoon. And they said, don't worry, let's make the same exact mistake. No deal. Now, lastly, on Donald Trump's voters, look, I agree with John, the other John, 100% that I actually think the best thing Hillary Clinton ever said was a deplorable line.
Yeah.
And no one ever says it accurately. She said half of them are deplorables and half are not. And that is true. Half of them are totally beyond redemption. What are you going to do? You're going to Klobuchar them into voting for Democrats?
And that's 1/8 of America. We're only 1/8.
That's right. And those guys who hated that Obama was black, and I can go on and on and on. Yes, they are deplorable, and you're not going to win them over, you schmucks. Oh yeah. You know what? They're deeply racist and they hate Muslims and Latinos. That's why they'll vote for Biden. They're not gonna vote for Biden. They got their dream guy in Donald Trump. But the other half are what I called back then, and I was, again, sorry, but I was right. And why do I tell you that now? Don't make the same goddamn mistake. Oh, Cenk, you don't know anything. You were totally right. That's why we shouldn't listen to you this time. Anyway, so they're brick voters. They hate the establishment. So they picked up a brick and they threw it through the establishment window. That orange brick was named Donald Trump. I mean, you can't find a better brick. Total agent of chaos, right? Let me just mess people up just for the sake of messing them up. Just send in this cyclone and see what kind of damage you can do, because that's how much I despise the establishment, is what a big chunk of voters told you. And instead of listening to that, going, oh, maybe they don't like us. Maybe they don't like the establishment. Maybe we should go populist, but actual populist that actually helps the people. Nope, not one person in media says that, in the mainstream media. You know why? Because they are the establishment. Yeah. And they don't want to admit to themselves that people don't like them. 77% of Americans in the last poll said the media is fake news. 77%. And so, nope. I hear no evil, I see no evil. The establishment is wonderful, we are beloved. Let's pick someone out of our country club just like we did last time. And then we'll get to say later it was the Russians, it was Comey, and we'll feel great about ourselves. And besides, what difference does it make? Because we all just got tax cuts.
Yeah.
Boom. I mean, you're exactly right. Biden is in the lead right now because he won all these polls. But if Hillary Clinton had Bernie Sanders as her running mate, instead of a very nice guy, no one remembers his name, we'd be sitting around complaining about what an incrementalist, corporatist president she was right now, and we'd still be in the Paris Accord. We'd still have the Iran nuclear deal. We wouldn't be putting Scott Baio on the Supreme Court. I mean, if you don't have a rock star candidate, you have to have rock star ideas. It's all about getting the turnout. 46% stayed home. I don't know what Donald Trump can do to make that many people stay home next time. But at the end of the day, man, the worst thing that could happen to Donald Trump is a second term. Because my biggest fear, if John Kerry had gotten the White House in 2004, he would have caught that recession, taken all the blame, and we would have gotten a Ted Cruz in 2008 instead of Obama. I don't root for a recession. I'm with you. I don't want the economy to turn. but we know the way it's going, and people have to intervene right now, and it's not going to be gradual improvement that's going to save us. The entire system has to be unrigged, and that's a message that can really resonate with conservative brothers and sisters. They've never heard of Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren break down how they're being ripped off, and they just voted for a guy with a golden toilet to stick it to the man.
Exactly right. Or everybody check out John Fugelsang's show on Sirius every night. And John Iadarola got Damage Report, and you can get that if you sign up for membership too. TYT.com/John is a good way to do that. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Nice to see you both. Happy New Year to both.
Wonderful to see you guys. All right, we'll be right back with another powerful hour.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of the Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.